recorded on an artificial holiday created by the greeting card company. Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insight Podcast, recorded on February 14th, 2024. Good afternoon, Andrea. Good afternoon, Brody. Good afternoon, Roderick. How's everybody doing?
Good afternoon. As
Good.
opposed to all of the
Afternoon.
naturally created holidays that just happen out in the wild.
I was going to say this, like, aren't all holidays artificially created?
Yeah, well, this
By the
is
greeting card company.
the
Yeah.
greeting card company and the
As
television show
someone,
at that, right?
I
So
almost,
I think Charlie Brown actually led this particular holiday, maybe.
I don't get the reference, but sure.
Charlie Brown, don't you remember? It's your Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, the whole cartoon that came on
Oh,
every
yeah.
single year.
no,
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
Charlie Brown one is You're Good, is the pumpkin, Great Pumpkin.
The pumpkin,
and the
yeah,
Christmas.
pumpkin.
I don't
Like
remember
Christmas.
a Valentine's one.
I loved when they were dancing and some of the dances they were doing. Yeah, Charlie Brown. Yeah.
Just
But
like
anyway,
Charlie Brown's teacher, or like the want want want. That's basically a reenactment of every time anybody talks to me for greater than 1 minute.
yeah,
That's when everyone talks to me about investing money. That's when
there you go. Um, yeah, there's not a whole lot of want. People start off with 2 seconds at want, right? But then I want back. Want. Insert funny text. All right, what do you got a concentration ball in your hand there, Brody? What's going on?
Concentration ball. Yeah, let's call it a concentration ball. Yes, I'm concentrating with my ball. What's going on? It's busy. It's busy this week. Customers and security and customers. Man, I really don't have anything fun to say. I'm working a lot on. I'm auditing an organization's Azure AD and Azure RBAC for privileged roles, and we're
Mhm.
reporting on their trend over time as we've been working with them to see if they've been reducing privileged roles where necessary over time, and if they've been getting better or worse, right? So that's been an interesting thing I have been working on this week. And what else? I'm trying something new. I work with 2 customers right now, and I'm trying to work primarily with one on one day and another one on another day. And I'm finding it's like really helpful so that I can dig into stuff. It's not just be like jumbling calendars and meeting invites and be all over the place. Because like I went on I took a flight to Toronto last week. If you watched or listened to last week's episode, you'll have known that. And when I was on the
If you
plane, I expensed the Wi-Fi, and man, did I get a lot done in those like 3.5, 4 hours where nobody was bugging me. And I could just have beats in my phone, my ears, and I was just like hammering on the keyboard, getting stuff done. And I'm like, I need to do this more, when I'm not in an airplane. So I'm trying that. I'm trying to like really isolate large chunks of time to get into stuff, because once I get going, you can't stop me. But if I'm always stop and go, maybe it's because I'm just neurospicy, but I'm just flustered. By the end of the day, I'm like, what did I even do today? So that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. Little tech, little career advice. Yeah.
So everyone, Franklin Grimberg, the co-creator of the podcast, is on, and he's saying, Edward, you know why I'm here. I was like,
Hey, Frank.
I don't know, Franklin. Why are you here?
You want to explain that?
It would have to do anything with a particular exam that I'm supposed to be studying 19 hours a day for, right? I don't know. Do we need to bring him in? But I wasn't going to give a report on that this week, Franklin. Yeah, I told you this is later on. You and I talk. I told you I got time. The course is going well, Frank. I'm putting time in, and my wife is making me stay on it. So I'll go next since Franklin made me derail the call. Thank you, Roy, for that. What am I doing this week? Finally, putting some real good time into trying to get ready for this exam. It's I find it more interesting in, so I'm taking my time with it. I keep saying it incorrectly sometimes. I don't know why sometimes it's referred to as the SEC 508 course at GIAC, and then sometimes it's considered the FOR, which is forensics. Maybe it changed. I don't know. That's it. What did I do? Last week was I home or was I? We were in Seattle for a
Or something.
Yeah, something like that. And came back home. What else have I been breaking on? Thanks, Trevor, once again for getting me that information. I finally pulled the trigger and bought that VMware Advantage license, 200 some change, and I'm able to get vCenter, the latest release, as well as Workstation, because the Workstation license that comes with the course expires after 14 days. I see it in the class, right? Because the class is 76 days. But if I'm doing it live on demand or online, I can't finish the course. So the crazy part about the course, they don't shorten the licenses because you decide to buy it and do it at home. It's 14 days because you're supposed to have a weekend course in class and then a week to study and whatever. So I just bought a VMware license. I was done with it. And then it took me a minute. I haven't updated vSphere or vCenter in so long. I should have called Trevor because it was kicking my butt. Yeah. Oh yeah. He said Broadcom killed off VMware Free yesterday. You damn right they did. They out of money. So other than that, I finished developing a Microsoft Defender for Cloud app course for my team. So I'm going to be instructing those guys. I wrote the course up. If it goes well, I'm going to do it for the other products. And I think my manager also wants me to hypothesize how Copilot would fit in the training, right? I don't know how my head is going to get around that because I don't even know what it does inside of that. So I don't know. That's it for me for work. What about you, Andrew?
Oh, for work, gosh, great. Started meeting some of my new customers who are as part of the Copilot for Security early access program, hearing what they've been doing with it. That's been super fun. Working on some success criteria and use cases. What else? I don't know, not too much. Attending, there's always more training to do, so that kind of stuff. But I will say to all the people listening live, you should probably not be listening live. You should probably be off buying flowers or picking up dinner for your significant other.
Just invite them to the show. That's
Yeah,
you
that's
do
a
it
gift that
together. The
Just,
show
just
is
the gift everyone wants.
Yeah, it's a gift. That and a vacuum cleaner, right? Give them.
We have a romantic date to Home Depot tonight. That's our
to
date.
all our listeners, don't at me. It was a joke, right? don't get me. So that's it, right?
That's cool, Andrea.
I
Yeah.
did hear several of my teammates are from Kansas City, so I did hear that there was a lot going on at the Super Bowl parade today. That a lot of people had the flu today as they were attending the Chiefs parade.
That's right. The Super Bowl was Sunday. I watched the game at a friend's house, and
It's a good game.
it ranks
good.
up there. That was a defensive game. It's been a while. It seems like all the Super Bowls are where the defenses come out. There are no more blowout games. There are no more run to score.
Yeah.
These
I was
folks.
actually surprised Kansas City's defense played so well. I wasn't expecting that because San Fran's got so many weapons. So
Well, it's so interesting when two teams play in the regular season. You really don't get a sense of how they can actually play sometimes. You know what I mean? Because they're just, it's weird how that works.
And people play up. The guy that won
Yeah.
that Super Bowl was the player Jones for Kansas City. Their nose tackle, or who was playing over center and rushing, and then he would move to defensive end. On 5 plays, had he not gotten to the quarterback of San Francisco, there were people wide open. Yeah. And so it was so crazy. You see it on YouTube. People are analyzing and using analytics to look at the game and said, blah, 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 blah. Had this been completed, San Francisco's percentage to win would have went up. Had they got this pass, it would have went down.
Yeah.
I don't think there are a lot of people that understand how much technology influences how all these things work. I was telling someone at the party really quick that, and he played college at a high level, and then he played a little bit of pro, one of my neighbors. He played back then when you got a playbook. Your playbook now is a Surface device. So when you got cut, they say, hey, bring your playbook to the office. Coach wants to see you. If you get someone's playbook, you got them. Even though they change the plays every year, as long as they got this, you have the base. And so That's why when you see them, when you see the offensive coordinator that they're doing, they're talking like this because people are recording them. And now they give you surface so that when you get cut, they do it right. So
I know
anyway,
someone who works on that team who builds those surfaces for the NFL on behalf of Microsoft, and apparently Tom Brady has the record for the most surfaces smashed.
I apologize for
Believe it.
leading us towards sports. So
right.
how about let's
Rod
move on.
Trent.
Let's bring our guest in. It's already
Rod
been
Trent's
7
here.
We're
minutes.
gonna go for
Yeah.
Rod first. Rod, quick.
I do have some administrivia that we need to kind of address before we move into our guest for tonight, because we absolutely do have a guest. We didn't last
do?
week. I think so. We'll see.
see,
I'll hit
maybe.
a couple buttons, maybe not the big red button that Brody hit last week, but I'll hit a couple buttons, see if we actually have a
That was good.
have a guest. So I did mention last week I was going to be in Paris next month. Just want to let everybody know I will not be in Paris. I've opted to stay home for family. My wife and I celebrate our 34th wedding anniversary on the 24th, and we're going to hang out and
Hey.
do a weekend getaway. But then my daughter is having our second grandbaby, and the reason why I'm going so slow at this because we love our grandkids. There's just a picture I just got of our grandboy. We love our grandkids. So we have a granddaughter that will be here the first couple weeks of March. So I will definitely be in Denmark next month, but I will not be at the Paris location for the AI tour. Also, I wanted to kind of mention that we just released the schedule for Women in Cyber for next month, and it is stacked and packed. We're literally having 2 shows a week next month, and it's all that goodness. Super valuable. But on March 13th, we're taking a brief hiatus for Women in Cyber to celebrate something super special. So you need to be here for that because it's going to be great. There was one other thing. Oh yeah, right. So March is Women in Cyber. April is our partner month. And discussions we've had so far, we're going to get a bunch of partners who have been working with Copilot for security. Right. So it's going to be a good month for the partners. May is certification and career month. And my guess is I think Edward will have a much better response for Frank sometime in May about certifications or that.
Absolutely, I will.
And then we have like a build a lab month. Apparently we've designated July 2024 as Brody's month. It's Canada month. We're just going to have just people from Canada, Microsoft Canada. That's it.
Maybe
So,
August. We'll see how it goes.
Bring your toques. Yeah.
Bring your toques in summer.
Well, that's all I got. Let's anything else? Did I miss something? I didn't miss anything. I captured everything, I think.
We'll put it in the show.
I want to invite to the stage, and maybe we'll allow him to introduce himself. This is Andre. Good day, Andre. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Andre,
hey, I'm Andre. Yeah.
Andre, from what part of the world are you joining us from?
Yeah, great question, Edward. I'm joining you all from Auckland. So I'm just at the Microsoft office in Auckland. And it's a bit of I'm not originally from here, so I'm Brazilian, and I'm just here. Of course, I moved here a few years back. Yeah.
I saw
great city,
New Zealand. There you go. That
New
works.
Zealand, yeah, New Zealand, yeah. And it's a very sunny day today, so we're enjoying summer over weekend.
That's right. You guys are opposite climate from the northern hemisphere of a sort, right? Yeah. So it's summer down there for you, and still summer going into fall. Yeah, because it's in spring. Yeah, so that works. Anyway, Andre, I have been sort of trolling you on LinkedIn, watching your posts and everything. So I reached out to you. And I said, hey, would you like to come on the show? And plus,
that was the guy. Now he knows who it was.
It was me, right?
So, Edward, what was it about Andre's posts that intrigued you so much?
Now you put me on the spot. There's so many that I troll him about. Which one was it? Or did I come in on it, Andre?
Might have been one of the videos, I believe. But
yeah, it might have been one of the videos. I saved them all so I can go back in there. So my saved stuff is in there. It was one about your XDR experience and looking at how I think it was one you were writing on detections. So you recommented on somebody else's post and then wrote something else about it. So when I saw it, I want you to come on and talk about what you do, how you go about executing your role. Thanks, Andrew, for putting me on the roll. I can't remember now. I should have had it in my notes. Blew me up, but when I saw it, I immediately reached out. But the other thing was, um, Andre had reached out to us, I think, prior to me going and asked him, and then looking. But didn't you hit us up on Friends of the Show, MSI, and that's
Yeah,
where you go?
yeah. I created an internal Teams chat just to confirm if I could do something on the Discord channel, right? So I had some insights to share on the Discord channel, and I reached out to you guys. So
Yeah,
it's one of the benefits of. Yeah.
because when I saw it, I was like, "Who's this dude?" And then I realized I had been following you on LinkedIn, right? I'm like, "I know this dude," and then like, "Oh, that's the guy right there." So, well, thank you for pinging us and having us go back and realize who you are. But tell us why you're on the show. What happened bad in your life? You ended up on this show.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, thanks for the invite, Edward. And of course the wider team as well. It's a pleasure to be amongst you. Yeah, you are all legends amongst our groups here. So amongst the TSs, the technical specialists, which is my role. We listen to the podcast, but we also consume a lot of the content you put out because I was just telling Andre before, but you guys come up with great research and great posts that become references to a lot of conversations that we have, right? And yeah, so what I've been doing that it's been really interesting is just catching up on everything that Microsoft has announced at Ignite. Been doing a lot of work around distilling
Paul's on the
everything that
call.
we released, and of course, just making sure that we can communicate all of these advancements and all this strategy to my customers. Yeah, so that's been pretty full on, I would say, over the last few months.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that because I hear that quite a bit, not just from our customers, but just also from our own people of, we develop things so quickly and there's a lot of new features. So how do you keep up on it? Is it mostly external resources or is it a bunch of internal things that you participate in? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rod. It's a mix of them. Internally, we're lucky to be part of boot camps, so we're often invited in our roles to join boot camps. So we can learn about right from the product teams generally, or GBBs and experts such as Edward, I believe.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. So we just get to hear from people who are very close to the development of these products sometimes. But I've joined Microsoft a couple of years back, and the security stack was already pretty mature at that point. And so learning about everything that had been released prior to my joining of the company, that's where open and public resources come handy, right? Because there'll be a lot of good resources, of course, in the Microsoft Learn page, which I refer back to and I leverage a lot. And of course, in a lot of the field comes up with public research as well, right? So your must learn series is something that it's always in my to-do reading, particularly the AI series that you do. That's something else that I always look up to.
Yeah, by virtue of you saying the folks on the show, the prolific content creators are Andrea and Rod, right? Brody and I just sort of troll and and get the
Sure.
crumbs, right? It would take me and Brody together a week to create one blog, I think.
We just haven't released your inner beast yet. That's all. Your inner
We'll figure it
content
out.
beast. Yeah.
Inner content beast means co-pilot. So with it, yeah. So Andre, you're our TS, and I'm not going to make the assumption, but I'll ask: are you a TS for the Defender stack, all up and down? And
Yeah, it's a great question because we have security TSs, we have compliance TSs or purview TSs. My role actually entails a little bit of everything, given the geography and how our territory works here. But so I actually have to understand a little bit of everything. So that's why I focus on Defender. I focus on Defender for Cloud, Sentinel. Sentinel has been one of my big focuses for the last couple years, I would say. But also Entra at some points, right? So I've been having really good conversations with customers about Entra and of course Purview as well, which has been Purview in itself has been a tool that a lot of customers, Brody. If you want AI, you need Purview, right? Essentially, so that's why
Right?
really picking up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can't forget about information security. Very important. Very important.
Super important, actually. Yeah.
These guys all made fun of me, Andre, for years. Like, Brody works in compliance. Brody works in compliance.
And you say information,
and now it's all like,
information
what's
security, though. You
We
say
still
information
make fun of
security,
you,
though.
I'm
Isn't it
sorry.
really kind of data security? Right?
It's both. Well, I guess it's both. I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Data and information and whatever. Yeah. But yes.
Didn't we debate that already? That they're not necessarily the same. That was on one of the shows.
Information is what I have in my head. Data is physical.
So we have a question from that M365 guy, and Rod, you want to throw it in there while I read it?
I got it.
It said to our listeners, if you wanted to study a masterclass for Defender for Cloud Apps, what would you recommend? Seems to be a lot of potential that orgs don't take advantage of. Oh, maybe that's for me since I'm an MCAS guy. But let's go with our guest first. If you were to create a masterclass for MCAS, aka Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, how would you go about it?
That's a great question. So I always look into the Ninja trainings first, right? So that's a good material that's already created. And I always talk to my customers to leverage that first. Then I would look at that M365 guy. I would also look into the Microsoft certifications because they have curated paths and created paths that explain a lot of important concepts around these technologies. Not just around Defender for Cloud Apps, but that will definitely entail that sort of technology. And after that we could get broader, but I think it wouldn't. Yeah, that's not the point. The point would be to get deeper. But what would you do?
Considering I just wrote it a training series or set of sessions for my team, I approached it in a manner of my primary role of what would a threat hunter and an incident responder look for by using the Defender for Cloud applications. So I went in and looked at some of the more relevant detections and alerts, and then made the training of why is this important? Why is it impossible travel? Why is anomaly file upload and download? Why is there suspicious OAuth or API things? So I wrote it in a manner of practicality rather than feature reference of the product, right? Because I don't make sure I say this right. All the features are great to be in a product, but how many of them do you actually use? I wanted to use the one that may be more relevant to a threat hunter and more of an investigator forensics than someone who is a day-to-day admin. You can go in and learn how to block applications and make them monitor it and do custom detections by doing integrations with MDE. Now, I'll speak for Franklin on the call. Franklin's listening. I think his approach would be, how does it integrate and make things like MDE better? When I first joined Microsoft, MCAS was the thing, and I love the way it integrated with compliance because I used to call it AIP's cousin. Because AIP wants to integrate it, MCAS was the enforcer, so I liked it that way. So I like looking at the master class by going in and doing the ninja trainings, and then maybe diving down to more of the alerts and why the alerts exist. A lot of the alerts are no longer alerts; they're behavior indicators now. They have been deprecated, and they don't alert anymore. But so if you go to the learn and look at those things like impossible travel, anonymous log, and all those aren't alerts anymore. They're behavior entities or some sort. I think the name. So they're trying to get rid of the false positives, right? So that's how I would do it. And the last thing, get a trial and spin it up. It's zero deployment. The effort is almost nothing, right? And just get it in there. And it's good for the bean counters for the C-suite, because when you do it, there's an executive report after you let it run a while that you can just spit out what it has discovered running in your operational environment. And the number of apps that you see used is never the number that the customer said they have. It's always like 5 to 10 times, more than they have, right? That's how I would do it.
Tons. That's great advice. I love spinning up the lab. And yeah, anytime you show security leadership, any leadership, the results of those scans, it's eye-opening. Now, I think a lot of you get a lot of like advertisement apps that aren't really doing anything, but then there's like, that sketchy file sharing app that somebody's uploading 7 gigs to. And it's just like, what's this, right? And like those types of things you need to look into, right? So yes, when you start sorting by those columns, you start seeing the potential for data exfiltration and even data infiltration, really, or whatever you want to call it. That's important. And the risk scores are interesting on MDCA or MDA, I guess it is. It's generated through open source intelligence. So sometimes, like what's a good example? Mega in New Zealand, Andre, Mega, a controversial file repository SaaS service, doesn't adhere to a lot of privacy laws by default because they want to be kind of gray area, right? And so if you have users using a service like that, it's not exactly good for the enterprise, right? You want to be using a more robust enterprise grade service. So you could still have legitimate, in air quotes, apps, but they don't necessarily meet the security or compliance requirements of your organization, and that can leave you up to potential issues down the road if you've got people using them. So it's a extremely useful and eye-opening.
And to go back to what Brody said, we'll go into the next topic. Data exfiltration, especially when the user does it inadvertently, they're not being nefarious. One customer was like, "What is going on?" But it exposed something else that the end user had too many localized admin rights on the machine to be able to arbitrarily install any software they wanted. What they thought was a data exfiltration, the person was backing up their laptop using Carbonite to back up their stuff. So it looked crazy that the file was so large going up, right? They were just trying to protect the machine. So you learn about, we're open permissioning people on the endpoint. Maybe we need to go lock down some stuff with Intune or something so they can install these arbitrary applications, right? Because that's a DLP motion. What is that? The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. So there you go, right? So let's ask the question, since that M360 guy, that M365 guy is now my favorite because he loves MCAS. So there we go. What is your favorite product, Andre? We're not going to end the show with us in the middle.
My favorite product. It's I like the XDR solution, right? Not a product per se, the entire thing. And just how
explain that, because I think we talk about that a lot recently, and I think Microsoft talks about it a lot, and that I think we just kind of assume people know what we're talking about. What is this XDR solution?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So product-wise, we would traditionally think of a solution or product that mitigates specific risks and threats. And the evolution, for example, in one of these domains that are encompassed within XDR, the solution for endpoint security, for example, traditionally has evolved from antivirus to monitoring and endpoint detection response, EDR, right? Completely monitoring of endpoints, to a point where that alone wasn't just enough for proper threat hunting and proper response to large environments. But at some point, the industry started looking at other domains as well, and how monitoring other domains within user infrastructure, right? So think of how users interact with cloud apps, for example, right? We're talking about Defender for Cloud Apps. It's another domain that users interact with SaaS applications, for example, that generates a lot of monitoring data that at some point in the attack chain might be related to an endpoint threat, for example. If we extend this conversation even further to an email, which is how users interact with emails, of course, email, there will be a lot of signals and data that comes from threats coming from emails. When we start monitoring just that domain alone, again, it's challenging to try and scale large operations and threat hunt just on that domain. So when we start looking at this domain separately, we get a lot of challenges to effectively threat hunt and be effective in our operations generally. So combining all these different domains into one solution set that is natively integrated, that it's easy to integrate and to consume data from and to query, all from one portal, right? That's really powerful. Now that's why I love the Defender XDR solution set, because it encompasses all these different domains. And now Microsoft, since Ignite, has announced, of course, the integration of Defender for Cloud alerts into the Defender XDR portal. So, and that's already GA, right? So every customer is already benefiting from it already. So that's really exciting. And then, of course, we start seeing even what's in private preview, which was also announced at Ignite, such as the unified SIEM XDR experience. So seeing where that solution is going, that really excites me, and that's why it's my favorite solution, I guess.
You know, one other thing is when you look at it, not my comment, but someone made the funniest comment who's in this, who's in the industry. He said, and this was it, we were talking about Copilot. He said Microsoft created the cure, then they went and created the problem. And I laughed. I said, I don't get where you're going. He said the Defender portal is so robust now, you can't do it by yourself. It can overwhelm teams. I mean, security teams. That the Defender portal is like everything's coming in there, and so you need help. So inadvertently, they created a fix. Then by virtue of them creating the problem, and I've heard some people say that why the Defender and the close to the single pane of glass is where it is, and they like it. I think that some security operators or practitioners are somewhat intimidated of the Defender portal. There's a lot going on inside of that, right? And then if you were to survey your companies, I asked Andrea first, how many of your customers, Andrea, actually use the advanced hunting tab in Defender to the point where it's useful for them?
Not many, that's for sure. I would say maybe 25%.
And I believe that's generous, right? So some type of assistance with it, right? You could take compliance and make it its own division inside using RBAC to say just use that, or what? I'm sorry, you don't even need RBAC. You can go to the compliance portal, whole teams, and just build a career in there.
Yes, 100%.
I don't
and
relish.
you should, if you're large enough, you should have people doing that. You can't just have like one guy, like Noodle, do everything. Yeah, it's got to be separate roles. And the single pane of glass thing is interesting. I heard a really good comment on the Azure Security podcast, friends of the show. Someone said, we're all chasing this coveted single pane of glass, and there's a lot of merging of alerts and information that's happening right now, and that's all great. But single pane for one isn't single pane for another necessarily, right? So how about a customizable single pane for me versus a single pane for you?
So snap-in, kind of like the old MMC. We're going back to 80s or 90s. Remember that? That was great.
That was
we
great.
Should absolutely do that.
Yeah, you can move it around on the screen the way you want it, right? And I like that a lot. So for all this integrations coming in, it's a lot, right? But maybe your role doesn't require X, Y, or Z, and maybe the more granular RBAC permissions or RBAC. Someone told me it's called RBAC and not RBAC. So anyway, that's a new fun pronunciation battle. Maybe the granular RBAC permissions on the portal don't get rid of enough to make it more streamlined for you. I'd love to see you have the ability as an individual identity, have your own customized portal, right? For what you need it for. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, Azure sort of does it, right? When you can customize the landing, when you log in, color and all that.
Right.
You sure we can't do that? I don't, yeah, I guess you can't. I think you can. But when you can't do that?
You can in there. No. I don't know if you can in there, but I've been wrong before.
Andrew shook her head no. I thought based on rights and stuff, you could. Because save the topic for another one. I thought inside settings, in one, I'll look it up as we go to something else. I could have sworn there's something like when you slide when you have Defender experts, that's what it is. You give them permission. You still can't do it that way either, Andrew?
Oh, maybe for Defender experts.
Yeah, but I think if you enable Defender experts, something comes up. Yeah, it does. And you give the experts permission to do things in your environment. That's the only way it manifests. You're right. It can't be done yet.
You can move things around on the summary page, like the home page. That's okay. I just think there could be more, right? You could the option to maybe even cut out some of the stuff on the left, right? Hey, I don't really go into, I don't know, if you're a large enterprise and you don't touch email and collaboration in your personal role, get rid of it, or have it more streamlined. It'd be neat.
Think of it like the Azure portal where you create your own dashboards. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dashboard later.
Yeah.
I just wonder what you could do. Maybe I hallucinated. I thought
That's
it was Jerry.
not
We
abnormal.
have roles, right? And roles can have somewhat help.
Roles
little
can
bit.
help, right? Yeah. So specific
Yeah.
roles can remove or add the ability to do certain things for sure. And then from a visual standpoint, giving that power user, that analyst, or whomever, whatever you want to call them, the ability to, make it their landing page. So when they come in the morning or in the evening, whatever their shift is, like they've got everything they need right there. Just give it a bit more flexibility. Like if you're creating dashboards on Sentinel, that's really cool, right? But it'd be cool to have similar kind of features within.
Well, but even in
your portal.
Sentinel, you can't change that static entry page, right? I mean, you can
Yeah.
you can choose what your entry is. I could choose to use the URL to my entry point would be that workbook or whatever, but at least
Right.
that front static page, you can't change that.
No, you can't. I knew that. I tried to do that. You can land on the last page you serve, and once it authenticates you back. Like you said, I would bookmark certain workbooks. So I went right to them, right, and do that. But to change it, you can't do that. So Andre, in your day to day, you say you do it all. You're the compliance guy, you're the threat guy, you're the
A little
Sentinel
bit
guy,
of
you're the
all.
Defender for Cloud guy, you're the quantum computing
No,
guy.
I wouldn't go that far.
You write code. You're doing all these things, right? You're the DevOps guy. What's keeping you busy?
Besides all that, customer engagements generally. So I try to keep regular cadence with my customers, and then of course keeping up with how some of these conversations, can help them achieve their goals, right? So that's something, but that's work-wise, right? So that's my day-to-day as well. We also have quite an interesting kind of need here from a TS perspective, which is to not learn, but create something to educate our peers as well, right, Edward? So, for example, me and a colleague of mine in my team, we're working on well, that's not the right word, but just creating the right messaging around all our security stack, right, to our peers. So that's something that's on our mind as well, because look at all of us. We have so many different solutions, different technologies, but to our peers, how do we simplify some of that message to some of the conversations that they might need to have with their stakeholders, right? So that's something that's also keeping me busy, right? So trying to communicate that properly, create a message that will resonate with them.
I like that, Andre. We have that in our security service line team. We've gone with mentor-mentee kind of relationship. So if you've got a more senior individual in the team who's been around and they've got great ideas, we pair them up with a more junior member of the team who's just joining the team, either joining Microsoft for the first time or joining from a different area, to try to bridge that knowledge gap. Maintaining an internal team training repository always seems to be such a difficult thing to do. I think the CSU actually does a pretty good job with training their teams pretty well on some items. Yeah. But I've been there. We actually had that on a topic on an offsite recently. Like, hey, well, how about we create our own training repository? But then someone's got to own it, and it's got to be updated, and people have to take time away from that. It's
yeah. Mindful that we wouldn't create the content from scratch, right? But just creating the key message points for them, right? So that would be the goal. But what else is been keeping me busy is skilling up on AI, right? I'm sure everyone here is.
Well, that was a question in the chat.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, has your role changed with the introduction of the various Copilot technologies? We're on the same page here. We're sharing the same brain, apparently. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Should I jump in? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a great question. It's an ever-changing kind of role as well, right? So as we develop new technologies and have these new products coming along, we have to understand how that will overlap with current discussions and solutions as well. So that's how it's changed. yeah, first and foremost, created a whole new domain for us to have to understand about, right? So um, just looking at fundamental functioning of AI technologies. For example, what the introduction of Copilot for Security has done to my role and to me, for example, is the need for me to skill up on AI, and that's why, for example, I went for the AI 900 certification late last year. Yeah, so and that's a great content, by the way, for anyone that needs just fundamental understanding of machine learning, some services in Azure.
Save that for our certification month. We'll have you back to talk
Ah,
about
cool.
that. Save that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so that's changed in my role. So needing to look at wider domains, right? Which ordinarily, yeah, haven't been touched by security yet. And it's creating a lot of new conversations as well with customers. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, Purview, right? So it's reignited a lot of Purview conversations. It's created ways, and Ignite was yet again an event that showcased how core Purview is to adoption and secure adoption of AI. And so just being on top of everything that that we have in our technology stack, in our solutions that can help our customers adopt AI securely. That's a big shift in our role from a year past, I would say. Yeah.
I will tell you, one of the things that I think has been interesting, just as I talk to customers about things with Copilot for Security or the different, Copilot for M365 is, like I had a question today. Can I use Copilot for Security to ask Intune if there are, a certain device has conflicting policies? And I was like, yes, but you can already do that in Intune today, right? You can go in and find that in Intune today. And I think in some ways it shows how vast the products are, and that so there are so many things that you can do. You may not know how to do them. So in some ways we need to continue our education in the tools, but the great way to is being able to ask a natural language question and say, tell me this. That way I either don't have to find and learn documents, figure out where to go in the portal for all that kind of stuff, right? So I do think it's going to be really great to help with those edge use cases for things like, do I have duplicate policies or conflicting policies or things like that?
Well, and I get the confusion, right, from Copilot for Security, people that want to use it, because what is Windows or Copilot in Windows is what it's called. What does Copilot in Windows do for you? It says, hey, how do I change my printer? That's if it's a Copilot for Security, you're thinking, hey, how do I do this security piece, right? So I can kind of see where that might kind of bleed over into some confusion.
I
Also,
am personally.
you say-
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrea. No,
Go ahead, Brody.
thank you. Personally, I'm using. Well, ever since our meeting last week, it's basically like, hey, everybody, just use all the co-pilots like as much as you can to get educated on them, right? And I'm like, you know what? Fine. So I got back, and on Monday, I'm just like, I'm just gonna use it for everything. So like I had to do some reports, and I'm trying to get it to make tables for me. It doesn't really work all that great right now, but I'm like, okay, I'll do it manually. I'm coming up with phased project like key deliverables. I'm coming up with like scenarios for why we need how many test users we need in this type of scenario. I'm coming up with all kinds of things, and I'm learning how to prompt on it really well. And it's just like we're just like working together, and it's getting me most of what I need, and then I fine tune it in the end. And then recently, for customers who let us record or at least turn on the transcript, I used to take notes all the time because my memory is like a goldfish. Okay. And so my mom taught me this, write everything down. And so I wrote everything down in one note, and I'd spend most of the meeting just hammering on the keyboard, writing things down. People could hear me at the back of the room, just like, right. And if we got transcript on, it does a pretty darn good job of actually capturing things. As long as you're clear in the meeting, like, okay, Brody will do this and Andre will do that and Andre's committing to this. It does a pretty good job of like hitting all the notes and then showing up the follow-up items. And I'm feeling like the sense of like so much busy work is like kind of dissolving, or at least being heavily dissolved in a way that it kind of frees me up for more important things, which is generally what the whole point of Copilot is supposed to be for.
But I think I'm like you personally, and I think a lot of people are that way as well. When you write stuff down, you remember it. If you allow Copilot to do it for you, will you actually retain that, or do you have to always go back and look for that thing, right?
That's a
And I
good
will
point.
say, you have to enunciate clearly on those because sometimes there's some
It's
gets
cussing at me.
written
Yeah.
as threesome, and that is never.
Yeah, you can be offended really easy by Copilot.
Yeah, that's the reason I like it. Um, I think I am using it more. Rod, you and I talked over the weekend because
Yep.
we were trying to figure out the differences in my lab. I decided to deploy 365 Copilot, and it's $360 a year for one license.
Yeah.
And I dropped Chat GPT, the paid version. I may go back and add it because there is a little bit of comparison stuff that is worth maybe the expense. You can write it off. But
Yep.
once you get it into your environment, and I got a trivia question for everybody on here too. Once you get in your environment, I found myself not being able to navigate because it's so good for everything that you try to do everything. But when I narrowed it down just to do the things that I needed to do, like for my job, then it was very useful, right? I stopped experimenting of a sort. I'm like, that's good. It doesn't do PowerPoints very well, so if it's trying to do that, that's awful. But if you're trying to do something in Word, Excel, and you go through it, it's pretty awesome because I was trying to figure out how to do a formula to be able to do some sums. It did it right there, right? But if you try to tell it, go make me a PowerPoint presentation, do this, you got a cat riding a dinosaur with some things on his hand, right? So I don't want that. I like it for what it can do. And the best feature that I like, Teams, is noise, especially at Microsoft. It is just a den of noise. I don't make the meeting, and I love hitting summarize what I missed, and it just comes down. I'm like, "Nah, this is awesome. I like this right here, right?" It can even say someone asked Ed a question, but he didn't answer.
Or all the follow-up items are assigned to Ed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It literally says someone asked Edward a question, but he didn't answer. Right? I like, now that's cool, and it's bad at the same time. But that, Andre, I want to ask you one more question, and this is about how you go about your business.
Yeah.
In your role, do you cover New Zealand exclusively, or are you covering APAC or EMEA? What is your coverage range?
Yeah. Good question. It's New Zealand as a whole, right? So of course I have customers in Auckland, some are in Wellington, the capital. So public sector, which and some are in South Island as well. So Christchurch and other places as well. Just January, I flew down to see one of these customers. So that's always good to cover the entire country from that perspective. But I do a little bit of all kinds of sectors. We try to keep a community open as well to relevant customers that are part of the same sectors. That's something that I try to do as well. Running a community for them and helping them find information that is relevant for their challenges amongst peers from their similar sector.
I asked that question because we get very myopic here in the States, like always the way. But sometimes the way and Brody probably encounters this more than anybody else on the show because he's actually consulting and he's dealing with different personalities. But Andrew worked in SLG, Rod was just evangelizing across and everything, and I had here in I cover the South and cover RCG, retail consumer goods. You're saying the same thing, but sometimes the delivery is different because the way I talk to people in retail consumer goods is not the way I talk to people in FSI. You got to change the delivery. They don't want to hear anything you're talking. That's the reason I asked you the question. If you were covering other regions, like if you had to cover APAC or you had to cover Australia or someone else, you're saying the same thing, but do you have to change the delivery? But it sounds like you have to do it because New Zealand is not a large place in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah,
But it's larger. That lets us know how small we are in the world. But it seems like you cover SLG, private, public, all of those things, right? Do you have the delivery? Do you have to alter your delivery to capture your audience?
Yeah, indeed. So, and we oftentimes we have specific teams as well for of course these accounts, and being in sync with these teams helps me understand how to tailor my delivery properly to each of these domains, I would say. And
Okay.
that's and it's a skill that we always need to exercise, I believe, right? And of course, as we expand our customer base and the types of customers we work with, it's a much needed skill in a technical specialist role, I would say. Yeah, it's a good question
Okay.
because it's a challenge, right? Because when you go to bank customer or something I covered before, you have to understand the compliance scenario that they are under, of course, and then there are specific standards, but not just standards, but also expectations from a government perspective and how they operate. That all these kind of pieces, they do not, for example, apply to necessarily public sector customers. So understanding the context to the customer and their priorities at that point is really something that needs to be done before we even start engaging on any conversation, because their challenges is what we want to help with, and understanding the context is key.
And that was a very deliberate question. I got to sit on a call with some of my peers that operate out of APAC, Japan
Okay.
specifically, and that room is totally different than the way that you deliver. It is a totally different way. It was the way conversations went. So I just wanted to ask that. You know, how that goes. I don't want to come over there and come to one of your meetings and do a faux pas. You like, damn Americans, you know, I don't want to do that. But yeah, it's I gotta be over there. So that's pretty cool. So how big is your team?
Well, my team, the security team here, that's a good question. We are six, seven, 6 or 7.
Okay, that's decent
And
size.
that includes TS. So we're 2 TSs, 4 specialists, and our manager. So it's
So why is your favorite country Italy?
Italy.
Well, sorry, you have the flag behind you.
Oh yeah, that's that's the office. It's just the office room. Yeah,
I caught that
no,
too. Like he's
Pretty neat.
Brazilian, living
He's
in New
trying to make a
Zealand,
statement.
repping
I
Italy.
know, right?
Yeah. Right.
But funny fact, I've been watching Ted Lasso these days. I don't know if you like
Great
this
show.
show.
Thanks for catching up.
Yeah, so right, so that, and it's my wife and I've been essentially marathoning it, and they're at the season 3, and there's this player that's inspired by Ibrahimovic. He was a big player in Europe.
Yeah.
And I was just watching and catching up on his career at Milan, right? So which is an Italian team, and I've just been watching showcases of his performance at Milan recently. So that's quite interesting. But yeah.
Nice.
Unrelated note on Italy.
Yeah, as we wrap up, Edward, you promised us early that you were going to tell us the story of why there are no flowers at your house on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah,
Ooh, I misspelled Valentine. Oh my goodness. No, I'm so embarrassed. Go ahead.
Valentine. Good, someone else can't spell beside myself. There are no flowers in my house on Valentine's Day because there are always flowers here. I buy my wife flowers every Sunday.
He
Without
takes them out
fail.
just for Valentine's Day, so she doesn't get used to it.
And no, there are always flowers in my house. Andrew, you visit, if you pay notice in the kitchen, and as soon as you walk inside the foyer, every Sunday, fresh flowers in the house. And my wife hates roses. Absolutely
Mine too.
detests roses. Does
Mine
not like
too.
them. So tulips, lilies, all types of lilies, Cali lilies, flowering lilies. She loves that. But no roses in the house. And one of our really, really sweet neighbors just brought us some daffodils over yesterday because they know we like flowers. So if you come to our house and you walk into our sunroom, it's a jungle now. We're collecting all type of plants. So in there. So to Brody and to old Trevor, I do take care of my plants. I water my plants every Wednesday without fail. And I talk to them. Yep.
That's nice. That's
Yep.
nice. What a great
And
story.
so that's why there are no flowers, because I do the things, right? There you go.
Yeah.
And plus I like flowers too. That's just
Flowers
me.
are
I like
nice.
plants. Yeah, I
Flowers
like
are
plants. Yeah. So but I bring a rose in here. Yeah, that'd be the end of me. And I don't ask her why she doesn't like roses. Better not to ask, right? And do that. So that
Just
is
go
why.
with it. Yeah.
Just go with it. But hey, we are at the greeting card day. We're gonna give everybody a little bit time back. I think Rod wants to say something whenever he puts the pen up wrong side in and sticks it in his mouth,
Oh,
takes
no,
it
no,
out
no,
and looks.
no,
Oh, okay.
no. I got nothing to say. It is Valentine's Day, though. I mean, yeah, you have someone special, you should go do that thing. You should take their flowers away this time instead of giving them
Give me those
flowers, because they
flowers.
get flowers all week long anyway.
Every go to the spot. They see me coming. They already know. They get it going. But we didn't ask anybody what they were doing, so we do have 3 minutes left.
Brody looks very
Brody wants to
excited.
go. He's so excited.
I'm going with my wife. We're going to go buy trim to renovate the nursery. Yeah,
That's cool.
So
That's awesome.
so I just had to go outside and shovel out the back of the truck and put a tarp down because I couldn't get all the snow out, and we're gonna go. So it's going to be our Valentine's Day date. It's Home Depot.
Are you going with the traditional? Are you doing, the traditional pink blue? Or are you going to go more neutral? And
Oh, Andrea, I'm glad you asked that. I will get a copy of my wife's mood board that she has created for the
please.
broad design of the room, because interior design is one of her things, and you will be amazed at the time and the thought that's gone into this. I mean, I've looked at so many different swatches of dark green recently that it's amazing. Don't worry. It's gonna be fantastic. There'll be some pink.
I feel like I should contribute since I'm going to be the godfather of this child. I need to go ahead and do my part.
Yes.
Contribute to the cause. Everything.
Sure.
Rod, we already know what you're going to be doing since your wife came in and gave you a big old smooch at the beginning of the show.
Well, that was during our meeting. It wasn't at the beginning of the show. It was earlier though. So.
Okay.
Yeah. She smooches me all the time. There's smooches in our house all the time. So I just take the smooches away on Valentine's Day.
And I'm going to go cook lasagna.
Yeah.
I've never cooked lasagna in my life.
There you go. Italian.
And I cook. So I'm gonna
if
give it a
you've not
shot.
Done it
right?
before, you just be careful. Yeah, if
Yeah,
it's
if
something
I've
you've
not
not done yet. I don't know.
I screw it up. I may have to go out and get flowers.
Andre, what about you? What are you doing today, bud?
Oh, for the weekend, my wife and I are going for our delayed Valentine's Day celebration. That's the plan.
Perfect. We do the same thing. We push it out. Yeah, we push it out. Yeah.
Too much. Yeah. Every place we try to go to on Valentine's Day is gonna be crowded. We're not a fan.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
And to go out today is a waste of money. You get a
Yeah.
3-can meal. You spend $500. You mad at the service. I'll try my hand at cooking, and if it doesn't work, Uber Eats. We'll get some lemon pepper wings and some beer, and we'll call it a day. Andrea, should I ask what we're doing?
then I've got some yummy raspberry vodka and some diet Sprite. I'm going to have a little cocktail. I've got some chocolate covered peanuts, and there's a new rom-com on Netflix tonight with the guy who was in Lucifer. If anybody.
Oh yeah.
And it looks very cute. So that's my Valentine plan.
That's a very handsome devil. No
It
pun
is.
intended. He's a good looking old man on Lucifer. If you haven't watched Lucifer, go watch the show. It's actually pretty good. I think it's done now, but it's actually a good show. I saw some, and Brody will get this. I saw some blackberry Crown Royal today.
Yum.
I almost bought it, but I was that close to buying it. Right? You're right. Crown Royal should be just a traditional, right?
Just do it straight up. Don't add junk to it. There's just junk.
But they flavored it. I'm like,
I can flavor anything. Ugh, no,
don't do it. My
don't
wife
do
drinks
it.
Crown Royal out the bottle. No,
Damn. High five to her.
she doesn't mix. She said, "Keep the glass is the mixer. Pour that in the glass, swish it around. There you go." And she knocks it back. And I
Don't
think
drink and drive, everybody. That's our.
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
So everyone,
Drink
we are
responsibly.
We're at the top of the hour. Andre, thank you so much. Hey, I'm a man
Thanks
of my
for the invite.
word. I will see you in November.
Yes.
I will
See
be
you
in
in November.
Auckland. Come down there and hang out, and maybe you can let me sit in one of your meetings, right?
Nah, man. I got something better for you.
Okay. Hey, you're
We're gonna go for a run. We're gonna go for a run.
Oh, that's
yes,
great.
he knows. Yes,
Yeah.
just do it right here. We'll
Perfect.
go for a run for sure.
Can we end the show on a moment of silence for Bill Post, the inventor of Pop Tarts, who died at age 96?
For those who do not know, Rod is a true lover of Pop Tarts. So yes, I think we can do that.
All right. See y'all next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.